Big shout to the Ghosts and the Ghost Sets. On this episode, we sit down with Jimbo of the Six Skulls MC and we talk about starting a club from scratch and rising it to a Diamond 13, holding territory in the Texas biker scene and his entire journey, and we get into it on this episode of Demons Row TV. And no, yeah, we ghosting, baby. Big shout to the Ghosts and the Ghost Sets. Welcome to Demons Row TV, the holy grail of MC culture, where we cover everything motorcycle and motorcycle club involved. I'm Sose The Ghost. I'm your host for the evening, and today we sit down with Jimbo of the Six Skulls MC. Great interview. I like it so much. We're gonna get right into it. Run it. Thank you for coming on the show, Jimbo. You've been destroying TikTok. I was looking at the numbers, over 200,000, 230 something thousand. Your fan base is crazy. What is going on there? Because I noticed that you weren't doing like the goofy stuff that a lot of people were doing. You were keeping a real MC on there. So I really like what you're doing. So tell me how you got into that and, in the club stuff and all that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. So basically, back before the pandemic, I was doing a lot of like Facebook Live videos where I would just put my phone on my handlebars. I'd go right around and I'd just have the Facebook Live going, which was just more or less showing, my face going through the wind. And when the pandemic hit, my kids had gotten into TikTok, so I figured, okay, I'll download it. And what I would do is I would screen record my old Facebook Lives and post them on TikTok. And if you go back to some of my earliest videos, they're still on there. That's just, me riding to work or just me rolling around town. And I eventually wanted to upgrade and get a camera that would record both the front face and the rear facing, so I could have it recording myself and then recording my ride. And that's whenever I had gotten into the 360 cameras. And the 360 camera, the first one I bought was the Insta360 and that's kind of where I started thinking, okay, I don't see a whole lot of MC guys or even, Harley guys throwing this thing on their motorcycle. So I started riding it around with that thing everywhere.
When was this? Was this last year? Oh, you said during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, this was like April of 2020.
Oh, okay.
And as soon as I started uploading videos, it was all over the place. People were like, what is that? What is that, a drone flying by you? How do you get the camera to rotate like that?
Do you use the GoPro Max?
No, now I've upgraded to the Insta360 1R.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because I have dealt with this. How did your club deal with you getting all this fame? Because you're getting a lot of, you got to think about it. A lot of people look at numbers and they're like, yeah, I got this amount of numbers. But imagine if you stepped outside and everybody who follows you was outside your house. That's 230 something thousand people. They wouldn't even fit on your block. You know what I mean? So how are your brothers like as far as you doing the TikTok thing and stuff? Are they like supportive, or how is it? Is it ups and downs? Like, how is it?
Yeah, it's kind of ups and downs. Originally, it was kind of like, I got roasted quite a bit for it. These guys are, oh, Jimbo's TikTok famous, or, oh, we gotta wait for Jimbo to get his camera all set up if we go ride. And now they're a lot more supportive of it. They think it's real cool. More or less put our club on a much bigger map than we were on. Yeah. And, if I have like a certain subject that I want to speak on, I kind of go through the proper chains to kind of figure out if it's something that I can do or not.
Yeah, I wanted to address something too because I seen one of the TikToks and you kind of reviewed one of mine, and I liked it because you said take it with a grain of salt, but also take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. And I thought it was very true. You opened my eyes to something because a lot of people don't understand your truth where you're from, because you're from Texas, right?
Yeah, Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, so your truth in Texas could be the opposite of my truth in New York, but both be the truth, you know? So I love what you said.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, that's kind of how I felt about it too. I'm like, protocols vary from region to region, and, nothing that we do in Texas may translate to what you do in New York. It may be completely different. But, like you were saying, I try to speak to the general masses. Kind of like a rule I set forth for myself was I don't want to talk about a whole lot that you can't just Google. If you can Google the correct answer about motorcycle clubs, then I don't mind speaking on it or even elaborating on it. Things that really require you to learn the stuff in person, I try and stay away from touching all that kind of stuff.
So tell me about your club life and how you came up, what got you into the club world. Were you always into the bike stuff, or, like, what was your past like?
So we had like some mini choppers and dirt bikes whenever I was a kid, and that kind of got me started a little bit, but I never really saw myself owning a bike until my pops had bought one in 2005, I think. And so him and my mom were riding around all over the place. I mean, gone every single weekend. And I was thinking, man, I'd really like to get a Harley. I didn't think that was something that I'd be capable of doing. I thought motorcycles were way more expensive than they were. So I bought my first bike. My dad taught me, how to ride it. Me and him went riding all over the place. And then there was a group in the city that I'm at that kind of got together and was like, hey, we want to start a motorcycle club. And back in those days, we didn't know nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. This was the club was founded in June of 2009, so there wasn't a whole lot of social media presence like there is now. Yeah. So you really couldn't go online and just figure out all these answers. We learned every single thing the old hard way.
So you're a founding father of the Six Ghosts?
So my pops and a few other guys are the founders. I was one of the original members that came in. I was basically along just to join. I didn't really contribute any sort of, founding ideas or anything. All of that was all laid down before I came in. But I was at the very first meeting. There was a whole bunch of people there, and we're kind of trying to figure out what this is going to be, what it's going to turn into, the path that everybody wanted to go down. And it's like you start weeding out the people who are like, oh, I thought this was just a riding club type deal, or I thought this was like a hog chapter type deal. And we originally started with just a top rocker and a center patch, much like a traditional RC. We never really branded ourselves as RCs because we knew we didn't want to be that. We didn't want to stay that. And so we wanted to put in the work to become an actual MC. And so we spent many years with just that top rocker and that center patch, and eventually putting in all the work, and we got our MC status, and then we worked towards the territory, and then we worked towards the diamond, and we just got a Texas bottom rocker not that long ago. And so that was kind of like the icing on the cake for everybody. All the work that we had been putting into this, it was like, man, we're starting to get up there now,
I love the fact that you just explained how much work you put in, because people constantly ask me, how do I start a club? How do I do this? How do I do that? And you just broke it down, how many years you put into it. And you got family. Your father, tell me a little bit about your father. Was your father in clubs, or was he just in the scene because he rode?
Yeah, so our aspirations, to be an MC from the start, that was always kind of the idea. He was friends with guys from some other smaller clubs, and one of the founders was like an ex-member of Baca, so he had a little bit of experience. But truthfully, all of us were really green when it came down to how this thing started. And we learned by showing up for a ton of events, asking questions. We went to the local COC and, went through that whole entire process. And I mean, it was many, many years. And at the time, because I'm on the north side of Dallas, the north side of Dallas didn't have the giant community it does now.
So let me ask you a question. The north side of Dallas, what is that like? Because I'm not familiar with how Dallas is. I'm a Giants fan, so I only look at Dallas as some place that I hate. But just messing with you. But what's the difference between North and South Dallas? Like, what's going on in the scene out there?
I mean, not a whole lot different. I mean, most of North Texas kind of all sticks together, and we have, a lot of events that bring everybody in. But you kind of also have like smaller little regions that will get together. So South Dallas will do a lot of stuff on their own. Fort Worth kind of has their own deal going on. And then North Dallas, which it's pretty much every city 20 miles, 30 miles, north of downtown. And then all the way to the Oklahoma border. And we kind of do our own bike nights, our events and stuff. Everybody will come in and attend and support all the events and show a lot of love.
So when you're riding around, what are you seeing? Is it very, is it cactuses and desert, or is it like city? Because I think Dallas, city, but Texas is like, what is it like? What does it look like when you and your brothers are riding around?
A shitload of tollways. It's a lot of tollways, and I mean it's a good size. North Texas has grown a lot in the last 30 years. So even north of Dallas, you've got big cities like Plano. They're 250,000 people. McKinney is like 200,000 people. And then even like the Frisco area, which I'm in the city next to Frisco. Frisco's like almost 250,000 people now too. So whole lot of, there's a ton of bars, ton of restaurants, a ton of things to go do that are all 15 to 20 minutes away from me. So, I mean, we don't have necessarily like a downtown feel to it, but it's a lot of highways that are all intersecting, and then you get onto a bunch of little streets within each individual city. But every city's crammed right next to each other, and so like I said, there was a lot of opportunity for growth with motorcycle clubs when North Dallas kind of started blooming. And so now it's like we've got clubs in a bunch of cities all around us, and like I said, everybody will show up and show love to each other, and it's been badass. It's been real good.
So with when people think of Texas and they think of the biker scene, they think of Waco, they think of a lot of turmoil and beefing and stuff like that. Is there a lot of tension out there, or is it more love and that's more media hype? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is media hype. I don't see a ton of that stuff that goes on. And I mean, with our own little kind of subculture that we've got, it's, we're more worried about what we're doing. We're not worried about what these other clubs are doing or where they're going or anything. We're worried about what we're all doing, building each other up and having a good time with all these brothers that you make from different clubs,
Are you guys just in Texas, or are you in like different states, or?
We're in Texas and we're in Mexico.
Oh, nice. So do you travel to Mexico a lot?
Yeah, I don't particularly, but we do have a lot of guys. Like my dad's gone every single year for the last 20-something years.
That must be awesome to club with your dad. Like you must have that's like a family bond. Like, your club isn't just a club. That's a family,
Yeah. So the cool thing about it was when I first, when the club first opened up its doors, I was a secretary, and I think I was the second secretary the club had. And so I spent many, many years, doing secretary. And eventually I actually had left the mother chapter to go start a different chapter. And when I came back as the VP for my pops. So, and we already were spending a ton of time together. So it was real nice to get to learn, all the ins and outs from him, and, get an idea of, because he's, he told me before, he's like, eventually, I want you to take over this chapter. I'm getting old. I don't ride as hard as I used to. And so at one of our bigger national runs, that's exactly what happened. He ended up passing it down to me. And it was a badass feeling,
Congrats. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I couldn't even imagine, like, I grew up not having a father. My father was locked up most of my life. He got caught up in the 80s, drug dealing, crack, all that stuff. And, to have a father, you must have so much knowledge just having your father all those years, and so it's dope. Is there any like advice you have for people out there like wanting to join a club? I tell people hang around for a long period of time because there's so much in and out of the clubs. I think that's the best thing, like hang out for a long time. What advice do you have to a lot of these people in the Demons Row community that's always asking about starting their own club or joining a club? Like what advice do you have with your knowledge?
See, I've been passing around like people that ask me about starting their own club. My club got very lucky in the way we did things. We had the right timing going on. Like I said, we got started around the same time, like North Dallas really started blooming. And so we kind of had that on our side. Whereas now, especially in, an area like North Texas, there are so many clubs. I always advise people, I'm like, trust me, the right one is out there for you. It's almost pointless to start your own because it's not going to be any different than what some of these other clubs are going on. And there's many to choose from, we've got a bunch of RCs, we've got a bunch of mom and pop clubs, we've got, the support clubs. It's like, there's definitely going to be one, that suits you or suits even like the group that you want to get started with. And like you were saying, go hang around and spend a lot of time with them because, it varies from club to club and it varies from area to area. And so getting out there and asking questions is the best way to learn and to figure out, can I make this happen? And can I move with these guys? That's the best way to go about it.
Here's another one that people ask a lot. If they see a Diamond 13 member, a lot of people are intimidated by that. What do you feel about, someone seeing you at a gas station or something and saying, hey, what's up, man? Or, shaking your hand or whatever. Like, how do you feel is the way that they should approach you if they want to show you respect, or should they keep their distance? Like, how do you feel about that? Because you do have fame too. So people will come up to you like, oh, what's up, Jimbo? Like, I watch you on TikTok because you have, like we said, you have a big following, So how does that, how does that coincide with the the MC life?
So the way I always tell people, I'm like, if you take the motorcycles and the clubs out of the equation, we're just two grown ass men. Treat me how you would want to be treated as a grown ass man. Yeah. If I'm over there doing something with my old lady and you're coming in hot, interrupting me, well, it's like, of course I ain't gonna give you no respect and no time of day. You acting like an asshole from the get go. But, a lot of people will come over there and they'll naturally wait till I make that eye contact with them and notice them and acknowledge them. And then they'll come in, and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. This is either where I know you or I wanted to get to know you. And that's the best way to do it. And really, like, I me personally and everybody around me, knows that when you get to know me, I'm like the opposite of intimidating. I'm real friendly, real goofy. But there are a lot of people who have told me, they're like, man, when I see you, like, you're intimidating as hell.
Because they see the cut, the patches, the diamond, you're pulling up, big guy. They don't know. It's intimidating to a lot of people.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, be straightforward. Don't be aggressive, overly aggressive about it. But, if there's something, real particular that you're kind of after, because, you can ask me, and if I can't say anything, then I'm going to tell you I can't say anything about it, Or if it's something that you're asking, I might be able to point you into a better direction. Hey, man, these are the questions you need to be asking. If joining the club is what you're after, this is what you should do. This is how you should go about it, instead of, them coming in hot. Because I can't tell you how many times I get them guys that they walk up, they interrupt whatever you're doing, and they're like, "Hey man, how do I join your gang?" And I was like, "Oh, geez,
man.
so you can get away from me, first of all."
So are you guys on the like expansion tip, or are you guys like cool where you are and you like just want to keep it like family, not grow to like all over the world, or do you have a mission to really grow, or like?
It's been in the talks. I mean, for the time being, we're good kind of where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the more the TikTok blew up, the more I had people interested, and so you got to weed out a whole lot of individuals. I mean, we're definitely not against growing, but one of the things that we stress is that we want to grow in the right way with the right people, and we would much rather stay exactly how we are than grow too quick like some of the clubs and completely fall apart, or have some idiots that start giving the club a bad name. We do a real strict process of picking and choosing who even gets the opportunity to prospect.
I was talking with one of my brothers the other day, and we were basically coming to the agreement that like that family oriented diamond kind of club is the best way to go if it's not a huge nation, because it's like you can't have that brotherhood, because the circle, when you're in a nation, you start having so many people that you don't even really know, or personalities start clashing. So we were kind of talking about that, like something more tight knit is really the way that people last for many years.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I said, I was in 2009, and so that was really, I mean, how I kind of lasted was that we've always been just this tight knit group, and that's kind of what our foundation is built on. It's like the way I've been explaining to a lot of the prospects here lately. It's like I want that relationship with you, that if these patches go away, we're still got what we got. Yeah, it's cool to have all this, but our foundation builds by us being, strong with each other, regardless of what we have on our backs. And I think a lot of clubs miss that point, or like you were saying, sometimes they get too big that they really don't have that connection. It's like most of your brothers are just another face, or you're only real tight with the smaller group that you have.
Off the club real quick, and I want to talk a little bit about you, because obviously you have an it factor to grow like that. Like where's Jimbo trying to take it, in the up and coming years? Like where do we see Jimbo at, like 5 years from now? Like what are you in movies, or like what are we doing? Like I'm serious, bro.
I've been trying to put something together, because I saw this blow up, and I was like, man, there's an opportunity there, but I have no idea what I want to do with it, what I can do with it. And so honestly, I've been trying to figure it out. I know I like making TikToks and making content in general. I thought about trying to make the move to YouTube, but I'm not. I'd have to get somebody to come through and like edit all my stuff for me, because I really don't like messing with all that. I don't mind the filming, because I have a love for filming.
What I think you would kill on is if you could do the same thing as TikTok, but do the YouTube shorts as you grow, because you already got the it factor. 200,000 plus people, you got the it factor. So it's going to translate in other places, because you have a certain work ethic that coincides with that, and there's an it factor to you, because there's people that do this type of stuff for 10, 15 years and they never, grow at all. So for you to do it in the time you have, I see a lot for you. Like I was looking at your page, I was like, oh yeah, Jimbo got it. Like, the merch, you just come out with that merchandise and everything. Like, yeah, we could talk offline about that stuff.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I one of the projects that I just started working on, which shout out to American Eagle Harley Davidson. So I got with them and their marketing team, and I was like, look, I think I could do something that's beneficial for both of us. And so what I've been doing is these motorcycle overviews, where they'll let me borrow a bike. I run down the not so much the specs, because I'm trying to speak to the general masses, but I'll kind of run over like my opinions on this motorcycle, the color, the wheels, all the everything, and then I'll do a bunch of riding videos, and then I'll do like a flashy, artsy montage with it. And so that's what I've been kind of working on now, as not even so much my main content, but something that's very consistent, you know. And those videos tend to be upwards of like 2 minutes long, so I thought about, you know, moving a lot of those to YouTube.
And with the shorts, they want it to be under 50 seconds, so you know you could kill with that.
Shout out to Clocks and Colors, man. Them guys have been hooking me up with a ton of jewelry. They hooked me up with this bracelet, and man, those guys have just been real cool with me. And that's kind of the other aspect, is like, I like working with brands, you know, but I'm a little bit picky because I want it to be something that I truly like and that I truly appreciate. You know, because then it's a lot easier to make content related to it. You know, if I'm an actual fan of their item, you know, then it becomes, you know, this cool bond that we have that really helps each other grow. And so shout out to Clocks and Colors. They've been awesome, man. They've been hooking me up like crazy, and their shit is so badass. It's so nice and heavy duty. I love wearing it. I've been wearing it all the time. And that's about it so far. I've got a couple other projects in the works, but I think they're a little bit further out. And I'm not 100% sure that they're even going to come to fruition yet. So I don't know. We'll have to see on all that.
Well, thank you for taking the time to sit with me. I know you got a lot of stuff you're doing, club stuff and all that. It's hard to get the okay sometimes, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, anytime. And man, I appreciate you having me on, because it's crazy. Like 2 months ago, you know, I'm watching a lot of your videos. You were pretty much like the first, you know, MC biker on YouTube that I really started watching, and
thank you, man.
You know, keep a track of it. So it's like whenever you reached out, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this can't be real. I'm like, how the hell Sose The Ghost know me? There ain't no way.
I just seen it. I was like, yo, who's this badass biker on TikTok making TikTok look gangster? I'm like, yeah, I like this dude right here.